Hey guys, I'm just making a quick video to start a discussion about Infinite Crisis and MOBAs in general. As many of you know, Infinite Crisis is shutting down and it's only been out of beta for about 4 months. And now all of a sudden they're shutting down and it's left many of their customers in a weird predicament. I was always kind of against Infinite Crisis because there's this huge oversaturation of the mobile market. Of course, you have the main two games, Dota and League of Legends, which are the ones that get most of the attention. But then you have other games like Smite and Heroes of New Earth that kind of put their own spin on the genre. And then you have Heroes of the Storm, which I think is only getting big because they're taking the original characters from Dota 1 and putting it into Heroes of the Storm, and they're kind of it's kind of the successor to Dota, the original Dota, but it's kind of not. So at and they also put their own kind of spin on it, where it's kind of way more casual than your typical MOBA games. So I was kind of against Infinite Crisis just jumping into the market, throwing DC character skins on the heroes and then calling it a MOBA. One of the reasons I really don't like lots of people in the MOBA genre is because it's already a really specific type of game. MOBAs are actually under real-time strategy games like StarCraft and where MOBAs originated from, Warcraft. It's not really a broad genre, so we don't need like 20 different games filling up the genre. If anything, go back to real time strategy games and put a different twist so you can create a new subgenre. Don't forget, MOBAs were created from a mod that the community did to Warcraft, and now it's just becoming a cash cow for all these companies. And I kind of feel like Infinite Crisis was trying to do the same thing, and they weren't really putting a good spin on it. I actually don't really like Heroes of the Storm because they're not putting that much of a spin to it. They're just making it really casual and they're cashing in on the Blizzard characters that the original Dota had. And I don't think that's very good for the community either. So I was just browsing around their forums and I noticed that there's a lot of people that are not getting refunds, and it seems to be the people who bought the founder packs, which are the most expensive things you can buy in the game, are not getting their refunds. And the official reason why they're not getting refunds, well, this is a statement from the community manager, so it's as official as it's going to get. They said it's because the founders got to play for 2+ years while everybody else didn't get to play as long, so they're saying that because founders got to play for so long, even though they were beta testing the game, that they got their money's worth. And I kind of completely disagree with this because, for one, it was in beta. There was a lot of testing going on. It wasn't a completed game you were getting. That's why I would personally never buy a founder pack, but it's sad to see that this is the way the community is treated when they do buy a founders pack, and it seems like a lot of these new games really need these founders packs to really get going. I know I played Neverwinter for a while, and Neverwinter had founders packs, and I don't want to see the state Neverwinter would be in if nobody bought founders packs. So you can't really go around treating the people who shell out the money for these founders packs like this. Another non-official reason being given is because it was an investment, and I also completely disagree with this. When you buy a founders pack, you are not investing in a company. You do not get stock in the company when you buy a founders pack, and it's not a donation either. You're buying a product, and if they take away your product because they're unable to run the game anymore, then it's just not fair. I'm not saying they should get every penny they paid for the founders pack back, because they did get some product. They got 2 years worth of some of the product, but it was very unfinished. I heard it was very buggy. Sometimes it was even unplayable because there was not enough people around to get a full 5 versus 5 going. So I don't think this is a good way to think about it either. So I just want to open this question up to the community. What do you guys think? Do you think they should get a refund because the game shut down prematurely and they weren't getting the full product that they thought they were? For example, if you told them that the game would only be out of beta for 6 months, I think it is, they're gonna before the shutdown, that it would be out of beta. If you were told you only got 6 months to play the completed game, would you still pay for that founders pack? And if you were told that how buggy and glitchy the game would be during beta, would you still pay for that founders pack? I think those people just went out on a limb and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I'm going to support you. I'm going to buy a founders pack." And then they really did expect to get the product that was announced in those founders packs. Also, I heard some people didn't even get to spend everything from the founders pack because, as you know, in MOBAs where you have to buy some heroes, you naturally progress and get some of the heroes. And because the game wasn't even completed that long, that a lot of the heroes were bought with in-game currency because they would naturally progress and unlock heroes. Or are you on the opposite end and say, look, you paid for the founders pack. You knew there was a chance this company would fail. The company failed. You lose your founders pack. You lose everything. The end of the discussion. But I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to be in the middle and say, yeah, you didn't quite get everything you were expecting to get in this founders pack. So you should get some sort of refund. Another thing that kind of irritates me is this is the only type of business that can get away with doing something like this. For example, if you go to Walmart and buy a bike, and then you get to use it for like 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden the very foundation of the bike starts to fall apart. The metal starts to melt or something, and then the bike is completely unusable, and absolutely nothing in the bike is salvageable. And then they say, oh, the manufacturing plant of that specific bike doesn't work, but the company that produces the bike is still afloat, and they're still creating bikes. You'd feel completely ripped off, wouldn't you? They're losing everything. They don't walk away with anything, and it hurts. And this really makes me think about how long do we expect to play our games? Cause I also play a little Hearthstone, and I see some people invest so much money into the game. People spend like thousands of dollars to get all the cards in the game, and then one day Blizzard will just shut down the servers, and you will be left with no cards. Now, what is the time frame though, where you will feel like you get your money's worth, and it's okay for them to not refund a single penny of the thousands of dollars that you spent? How long do you have to be able to play the game before that happens? Is it just till you get bored? Is it like a decade or something? For me personally, I haven't spent money in Hearthstone, but I've spent money in Dota, and I feel like if I played for about 10 more years with the cosmetics that I've purchased, that I would be okay with not getting any sort of refund. But this also kind of segues into something I've been thinking about for a long time, and that's the type of games that we play on our computers now never have to go extinct. For example, once they want to work on Dota 3, they can just transition Dota 2 into Dota 3. They don't need to get rid of Dota 2, if you get what I'm saying. And they can also transfer everything that you purchase into Dota 3. And if you don't want to play Dota 3, well, they can keep everything in Dota 2. And I guess eventually that server will shut down, and eventually only Dota 3 will be up and running. But I've been thinking for a while that our games don't really have to end anymore. One thing that really pissed me off is with sports games. Every year you buy new sports games, but eventually they had online play, and with the online play, before you could play online, you had to make sure you were updated with all the characters and stuff. And then I realized that instead of just buying a new $60 sports game every year, they could just update the characters instead of charging you $60. But they never, well, back then it was like $50, but they never did that. And it really pissed me off with sports games. And it's the main reason I stopped playing sports games on consoles. Is because it's highway robbery. They can just update the old game continuously, and you never have to buy a new sports game. But they refuse to do that because they make way too much money. Each year, they they only make very slight updates to the game. Like, oh, a few buttons are changed around. Oh, you can do a few new things that you couldn't do last year. But the biggest change is the roster. And I think if people got the roster change for free, they would not buy a new that new version of sports game that would come out the next year. But with this sort of free to play model, because people are continuously paying for it and they're continuously able to afford to update the game, they don't have to just stop supporting one copy and then sell a new copy. If you get what I'm saying, it's a completely different business model. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how our games will evolve in the future and how some of our games will continue on for many years. We might see Dota 30 years from now and it will just be marketed as Dota 4, Dota 5, or the new Dota. Or it might even still be Dota 2, which is insane to think that we'll be playing Dota 2 20 or 30 years from now. So, yeah, just tell me what you think about this discussion in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.